Bob's Garage Woodworking. Today I'm going to show you how to make a soap mold, and these molds are probably the easiest to use, easiest to release the soap out of. I've looked all over the internet and I haven't found anything that really worked all that great, so I had to modify other people's designs and I came up with this. And you actually open it like that and it's really easy to get the soap out. And you only use 2 hinges, it's really simple to make. You don't need to hold it closed. Once you set it down, the weight of the box itself will hold it closed. And if you want, you can make lids for it. And I made some simple lids out of some scrap wood that I had. And these will actually hold on to the box itself as well. And they're stackable, so you can put your other soap on top of it and stack it up. Really simple, easy design. You guys are going to love them. Anybody that makes soap will love these. So I'm going to show you how to make them. Oh, and I have 2 sizes here. One's like a 4-pound size, and the other size is like a 2-pound. And basically, it's just half of the size of this, right? So, all right. So the parts for the soap mold are, we're going to have a lid, and the lid is 16 1/16 by 5 9/16. There's going to be 1 piece. Now we're going to have some ends for the lid. That'll go on the sides there. That'll keep the lid on top of the soap mold. And these ones are, it doesn't have to be exact, but they're 5.5 by 1 1/4. There's 2 pieces of those. And these are a 1/4 inch thick. You can use whatever you want, but that's what I have. And then we have some longer pieces for the sides. These are 16 inches wide by 1 1/4, and there's 2 pieces of them. Then for the sides, 2 sides, the soap mold are 4 3/4 by 16, 2 pieces. Then the bottom's actually 2 pieces like this, and then there's a hinge that goes in between. And they're 2 inches by 16 inches, and there's 2 pieces. And then the ends, there's 2 ends. They're 3 1/4 by 4 inch. There's 2 pieces. All right. And then the hinges, I just grabbed some Stanley hinges, and they are 2 inches. Okay. Just a simple 2-pack of hinges. All right. I'm going to assemble it with some wood glue and some 1 1/4 inch brad nails. So we're going to take the bottom piece, the 2 inch by 16. We're going to run a bead of glue. Oops. Down that. And then we're going to take the end, which is 3 1/4 by 4, and we're going to take the short side, and we're going to put some glue on the short side. And then we're going to put a little bit of glue on the top of the bottom. Figure that out. Now, I'll set this here. We're going to take a spacer, a 3/4 inch spacer, because we're going to space that off the bottom for the hinges. And that we'll put side against the bottom. Put on our safety goggles. Okay. Crazy Russian hacker, he says, "Remember, safety first." Something like that, anyway. So, line it up, move your fingers, shoot the brad, and the same with the front. And then we're just going to zip along here on the side. Get a few brads in there, make sure that they're all good, they're not sticking out anywhere. Now, we take our spacer away, we take the end, and we'll put that on the side here. And try to have it so it sits properly. Sometimes these things aren't quite perfect. So, what we'll do, we'll turn it upside down first. Put a little bit here. Alright, so now we'll just take this over here, we'll set the end in, and we will put the brad at the bottom, and then on the sides, okay, that looks like this. So you've got the side, the end, and the bottom, all shot together. Now, notice I only put one end on, alright? And I put one piece on the bottom and one side. And there's a gap on the bottom. You see that? That's 3/4 of an inch. That's so that the hinges can go underneath. I'll show you more about why that's there. So now we're going to do the other side the same way. Put your spacer down. Grab your side. Grab your so. Put it over. Line up the top of the sides, the ends. Alright. Doesn't have to be exactly perfect. You're going to put a liner in your soap dish or your soap mold anyway. Alright? Because you can't get the soap out without that. So, again, it looks kind of weird, right? And when you put it together, it all comes together. And then you'll put the hinges in it and it'll open up. So, put it together like this. We'll set it down, line everything up nice and neat. If you want to, you can grab a couple of clamps and we'll use a couple of clamps here. We'll clamp it shut. Straighten it out, clamp it shut. Don't need the safety glasses anymore because I'm not shooting nails. And we're just going to tap this nice and flush. As flush as it gets anyway. Alright? And then we'll put the hinges on. Alright, so now we've got our 2-inch hinges, and we're going to set them just basically anywhere along the line there. And we're going to try to center them as best as possible. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. Now, I'm going to use number 6 Robertson screws for you guys that happen to be in the States. You guys don't have Robertson screws, you have square drive screws, which are kind of like the Walmart version of a good product. So, that's what I'm going to use. So I've got one drill with a Robertson, and then I've got another driver with the drill bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to pre-drill these so that we don't split the wood. So try to center it as much as possible. Pre-drill it. Put this on speed number 2, which is a little bit better for this. Oops. You don't have to go all the way through. And if you do, it's not a big deal. Like I say, you're going to line it. So I'm going to start this, put the screws in, put all 4 in, and then do the other one in the front. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to make the lid for our soap mold. And what we're going to do is we're going to run a bead and then put on the sides, the lips basically. So a little bead of glue. And for this one we're going to use 3/4 inch brads. And we're just going to stick this on the side there. Line it up. It's easier this way. So I have some space in the end. Alright, all 4 sides like this. We have the shorter ends, the other sides. And we'll put all of these on. Here's the lid. Now you can put a handle on the lid, but I'm going to have it so I can stack them all up. And you can actually just put a strip of wood on there or whatever, but it's easy enough to just lift it off like this. So I'm not going to bother with that. Like I say, this doesn't have to be perfect. Like my corners are kind of sloppy and stuff. It's just a mold for soap, right? So the lid goes onto the soap mold. So the soap mold opens up, and you'll see the ends open up differently, like one's on one side, one's on the other. And that way, when you pour your soap in, and you'll actually use a liner on this, so you'll use like wax paper or parchment paper or saran wrap, whatever. Then you pour the soap in, and you let it set. And after 24 hours or 48 hours, whatever it is, I don't make the soap, I just make the molds, right? So after that's done, then you just open this, and a whole loaf of soap comes out and right on the table, and then you can cut it up. You can either make a cutter for it, you can buy a cutter. I don't use this as a cutter. Depends on how much soap you're going to make. Like, you may want to make or buy a cutter for it. But this is by and large the best soap mold on the market, and I came up with it myself. Haha. And then you can put the lid on it. So some of the recipes say that you should put a lid on it. The reason that there's extra space at the bottom, not only because there's hinges here, but because this will sit like this, and it will stay closed by itself because of the weight of the soap pushing down. It will force it closed. And then if that's not enough, and you want to keep the heat in for your batch of soap, you can take the lid, which fits on over top, and there you go. It's not going to open. It's fantastic. Alright, I'm pretty pleased with myself with this one. This is really good. So there you go. This is the finished product. Soap mold with lid. Opens up, kicks your soap out. Super awesome. You guys are going to love it. It's super easy to build. You don't necessarily need to have a brad nailer, but doing anything with woodworking, brad nailer just makes life easier. Alright, I just designed and made these today. The first time ever. Well, I made a preliminary model before. But I've already come up with a little note for you and a slight design modification and improvement. And the first thing is, when you're doing this, there's some sandpaper. And it's easier when it's like this. Sand it off, get those edges, and just give them a little once over so they're not sharp, and knock any of the splinters and things off it as well. Do all your edges and corners, and just give it a light rub down with sandpaper. And just like anything when you're woodworking, it's kind of nice to actually pre-sand your stuff before you assemble it. The second feature is when you use the lid, if you actually make the lid kind of like double-sided almost, then you can stack them together and they'll sit nicely together. So that's what I'm doing now, because obviously I'm making more than one because my wife likes to make soap. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the same 1/4 inch material. This is actually leftover pegboard that I have. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put some pegboard underneath because it's long enough. And we'll run the bead of glue again. Throw that on there. Other stuff out of the way. Alright. Okay. And then brad nail on. Alright, so it's got a 1/4 inch at the top and a 1/4 inch at the bottom. I'll finish this up and then I'll show you what's going on. Alright, so here's the scoop. So you have your soap mold. I made some small ones too. Right? And you put your lid on it, and the lid goes either way. You set that on, and then this one, the next one, fits nice in the top here. So it doesn't move around. Alright? So it's stackable, just like an old school crate. And you put your next one on top, that's stackable too.